Hello everyone, I am Jubra Sesta and I with my partner Pete Nicolai Sultan. So we're going to discuss the tourism planning. So let's proceed. What is the meaning of planning? Planning is a dynamic process of determining goals, systematically selecting alternative courses of action to achieve those goals, implementing chosen alternatives, and evaluation choosing to determine if it is successful. So planning means figuring out of what you want to achieve, choosing different ways to do it, doing those things, and then checking out if they are work. So that's the meaning of planning. Next is reason for tourism planning. Tourism planning is a greatly needed that stagnation and decline of destination or attraction may be due to the lack of planning or poor planning. According to the destination life cycle concept as defined by Plug 1973, destination areas tend to rise and fall in popularity according to the whims of those in the predominant psychographic groups to which they appeal on different stages in their development histories. So, tourism planning is important because if a place doesn't plan well, it might not grow or could even get worse. Places that people like to visit can become less popular if they don't plan properly. This is because different types of people like different places and these preferences change over time. So this is the consequences of lack of tourism planning or poor planning. So when tourism planning is doesn't done well, it can lead to various problems. First is the physical impacts. Like one, it can the environment might get damaged or change. Historical and cultural sites might also get damaged or changed. Places can get too crowded, causing congestion. Pollution can increase, and the traffic can become big issue. B. Human impacts. Local people might find it harder to access services and attractions, which can make them upset. They might start disliking tourists. Their culture might start disappearing. People working in tourism might have not the right skills or be friendly. People might not realize how tourism can benefit their area. C. Marketing impacts. First is the missed chances to attract more tourists, losing tourists to other places, not enough promotion in key markets. People not know what the place is all about. Businesses might not work together to advertise. Six is not making the most of marketing opportunities. D. Organizational impacts. Different groups might not work together well, businesses might not cooperate, the tourism industry might not have a strong voice, local authorities might not support tourism, not dealing with important issues together. And lastly is the other impacts. Not enough things to see and do. Tourism might only be business busy at certain times with short visits. Facilities and services might not be good enough and not enough information for travelers. So those A, B, C, D, E are the consequences of lack of tourism planning or poor planning. So this is the impacts if the tourism planning doesn't done well or it doesn't plan well. The tourism planning in developed countries. In general, planning for the tourists is less difficult in developed countries than it is in developing ones. Planning is important and should provide a quality environment for both tourists and residents. So in developed countries, planning for tourism is usually easier compared to developing ones. The focus on creating a good environment for both tourists and locals. However, in developing countries, planning needs to be extra careful because tourism can have big impact on the local culture. Sometimes, the culture is delicate. and tourism can change it a lot, especially in developing countries. So, like for example, like Cancun, Mexico. Cancun is a popular tourist destination known for its beautiful beaches and lively nightlife. In developing country like Mexico, tourism planning should consider how the massive influx of tourists might impact the local way of life and natural environment. In both cases, planning needs to strike balance between promoting tourism for economic benefits and preserving the local culture and environment. The rules and responsibilities for tourism planning. So, in communist countries, all planning is done by the national government. In democratic countries, the government and the private sector play a valid role in the tourism planning. Experience shows that the process of joint participation and close cooperation of the private and government sector produces the best result, and that plans are more likely to be successfully implemented if the private sector is actively involved in the planning process. So, in the in these countries, all planning is done by the national government. They control and decide everything related to tourism. While the democratic countries, both the government and the private sector are involved in tourism planning. Experience shows that when government and the private businesses work closely together, plans tend to be more successful. Active participation look from the private sector leads to better results. Now, let's look at some barriers to tourism planning and the problems they bring. So, first is the resistance to planning. Some people, especially in free enterprise systems, don't like planning. Business owners might see it as the government interfering with their businesses and doubt its usefulness. Second is the cost. Good tourism planning requires a lot of money. It needs detailed research on resources and markets, which can be expensive. Third is the complex industry. Tourism involves many different parts. It's not like making cars where everything is in a one place. For example, hotels, airlines, restaurants, and attractions are obvious part of tourism. But other businesses like retail stores and banks also play a role. This complexity makes planning harder. Fourth is the different type of businesses. In tourism, there are few big businesses and lots smaller ones. Also, some businesses might see themselves as just hotels or restaurants, not realizing their broader role in the tourism industry. This mindset makes coordination and planning more challenging. The tourism planning process is like a roadmap for making decisions about how to manage tourism in a place. It's not a one-time thing. It needs to keep changing to fit what's happening in the world and in the place people want to visit. This process has 5 important steps. The first step is background analysis phase. This is where planners look at what's already happening in the area. They gather information about the place, like what attraction it has, who visits, and the rules or policies are already in a place for tourism. Second is detailed research analysis. In this step, planners dive deeper into the data. They might study things like visitors' trends, environmental impacts, and economic factors related to tourism. It is all about understanding the place and its tourism potentially really well. Third is synthesis piece. This is when all the information collected in the previous step is put together. Planners try to make sense of it all and identify any patterns or problems that need addressing. Fourth is a goal setting strategy selection and objective setting phase. Here, planners set goals for what they want to achieve. When tourism in the area, they decide on strategies for reaching those goals and set specific objectives to measure progress. Now, let's focus on the first step, which is the background analysis. In this step, this is where the planners start looking at what's already going on in the destination area, whether it's a country, state, region, or a local community. They take stock of the existing, whether it's a country's existing tourism activities and the rules or policies that govern them. A key part of this space is creating an inventory or list of all the things that make the area attractive for tourists. This could include natural attractions like beaches or mountains, cultural sites like museums or historical landmarks, or even events like festivals. Everything that drew tourists to the area gets noted down. The goal of this space is to get clear picture of what the area has offered to tourists so that planners can build its strength and address any weaknesses. It's like taking inventory before making a plan to improve house. You need to know what you have to work with first. So, the table 8 categorized the different parts of the that make a place attractive to tourists. So, first is the natural features. These things are like landscapes, scenery, and unique actual natural attractions that draw tourists. Second is the historical and cultural features. This includes buildings, historical sites, and cultural themes that showcase the area's heritage. Third is the tourism operations facilities. There are the services and facilities that cater to tourists like accommodations, food services, and events. Hospitality services. This refers to services that make the tourists feel welcome, like information centers and reservation systems. Fifth is the general socio-economic. This includes the overall social and economic conditions of the area like population, employment, and economic stability. Human resource. This refers to the people in the area, including their attitudes towards tourism and their involvement in the industry. 7. Present land users. This relates to owns and use the land in the area as well as any regulations or plans for future growth. So, in the subcomponents, under each component, there are more specific subcomponents that further describe what each part entails. Now, let's proceed to the next step. The third step in the background analysis, focusing on understanding the demand for tourism in the area. This is done by gathering information from existing sources like reports or studies. The goal is to create a profile of the types of tourists who visit in the area and what they like to do. This profile might include details about the demographics of tourists like gender, age, and nationality, what activities or attraction they prefer, much they spend and how long they stay, any trends or pattern in their behavior. Having this information helps planners to tailor their strategies to attract more of the right kind of tourists and provide them with the experiences they are looking for. It's like knowing who all your customers are so you can give what they want. So, let us break down the different aspects of understanding tourism demand. First is the modes of travel and within destination area or post-usage volumes. This means looking at how tourists get to the place and how they move around once they are there. And it includes things like using airplanes, buses, trains, ships, or private cars. Understanding this helps planners know what transportation options are popular and how to improve them. Second is the visitation volumes and patterns by month or season. In this studying involves when tourists visit the area and if there are any patterns depending on the time of year. For example, some places might be busier during the summer months. Knowing this helps in managing crowds and resources effectively. Third is the geographical origin of tourists. This is about knowing where the tourists come from. It helps in targeting marketing efforts and understanding which was contributed most of the tourism. Fourth, geographical destination of tourists. This is the flip side, knowing where tourism come from. It's about where they go once they are in the destination. Understanding this helps in the planning activities and attractions to cater to the environment interests. Fifth, tourism or tourist demographics. This includes details like tourists' ages, incomes, education levels, occupations, and who they're traveling with. Knowing this helps in creating offerings that match their preferences and needs. 6. Trip purposes. This is about why tourists are visiting the area. It could be for leisure, business, visiting friends or relatives, or other reasons. Understanding this helps in tailoring experiences and services accordingly. 7. Activity participation. This involves knowing what activities tourists engage in during their visit. It could be sightseeing, adventure sports, cultural experiences, or shopping. This information helps in planning and promoting activities that are popular among tourists. 8. The market segments. This refers to different groups of tourists like families with children, singles, tour groups, or business travelers. Each segment has its own preferences and needs, so understanding them helps providing targeted services. 9. Lengths of stay. This is about how long tourists stay in the area. It helps in planning accommodations, activities, and other services. Lastly is the tourist expenditure. This is about how much money tourists spend in the area. It is important for understanding the economic impact of tourism and where investment should be made to boost revenue. Once all this information is gathered, the final step is to review the strengths, weaknesses, problems, and issues in destination area tourism industry. This involves looking critically at what's working well and what needs to improvement, involving input from various stakeholders like government officials and industry representatives. It's about being honest and objective to make informed decisions for the future.
Detailed research analysis. A valid tourism plan cannot be formulated without research. Research should be concentrated in four distinct areas, namely resources, markets, activities, and competition. Use the first area is the resource. The first step in the resource analysis involves the preparation of maps identifying the location of major resources. The last stage of the resource analysis is the source of classification. This is a ranking or grading of the scope of appeal of the tourism area. The second component of the detailed research step is the activity analysis. Activities include all the things the tourist can do while visiting the destination area. Ranging from recreational pursuits like skiing to more passive pursuits such as shopping and sightseeing. It is necessary to classify the activities according to the range of appeal. A good tourism plan will include some original research on the existing and potential markets of the destination area. The original research carries out one or more surveys of existing tourists and potential tourists. Surveys of existing tourists are normally carried on while they are within the destination area. Normally, the personal interview technique is used either at exit entry points or at important tourism facilities. A tourism plan must consider the competitive advantages of future plans of other areas as well as its own. The detailed market research can assist in identifying the most competitive destinations, their individual strengths and weaknesses, and steps to be taken to make the subject destination area unique among its competitors. Synthesis. The third step of planning process is where major conclusions regarding to previous work are formulated. It is one of the most important and creative steps in the process. A comprehensive tourism plan will produce conclusions on 5 distinct subjects. Number 1, tourism development. Number 2, tourism marketing. Number 3, tourism industry organization. Number 4, tourism awareness. And number 5, other tourism support services and activities. There are steps in synthesis phase. There are 2 steps in synthesis phase. The first step in the synthesis phase is the preparation of position statements on each of the 5 subjects. The position statement indicates where are we now with respect to development, marketing, industry organization, awareness, and other support services. The second step is to determine where we would like to be or the desired future situation. It is useful for the destination area to verbalize these desired states in terms of tourism development, marketing, industry organization, awareness, and support services. Goal setting, strategy selection, and objective setting. The fourth step in the tourism planning process is to define the planning goals, strategies, and objectives. They must be complementary to policy goals and objectives. One of the planning goals have been set. There are various approaches or strategies that can be employed to achieve them. Within a specific destination area, different 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 various different approaches or strategies may be used for sub-areas within it. Sub-areas may have economic-oriented strategies. So, here is my example of planning goal. This example is in the book. I just use it. So, this is the planning goal number 1. To increase the economic benefits of tourism within the Atikonan area. So, these are the strategy components. Number 1, attach a high priority to tourism as an economic activity. Number 2, broaden the market appeal of the area and increase visitation to the area. Number 3, spread demand more evenly throughout the year. Number 4, diversify the range of activities opportunities available to visitors. Number 5, make the area primarily destination point for greater number of visitors. Number 6, encourage stopovers by other visitors who might otherwise pass by. Number 7 is decrease the dependence on new leisure travel markets. Number 8 is increase the penetration of Canadian and overseas markets. Number 9 is encourage 1 or 2 destination development of an intermediate scale. And number 10, improve modernize existing businesses. So this is the strategy component in the Atikonan area in Canada. So, plan objective related to goal number 1. So, this is the related objectives in the goal number 1. So, number 1 is to create new images of the Atikonan area has to offer to visitors that is much more than fishing and hunting. Number 2 is to develop and promote new attractions, facilities, and events that appeal to a broad range of interests. Number 3, to develop and promote new travel recreation opportunities associated with the major activities and destination and pass-through visitors. Number 4, to increase the visitors' market's awareness of the area's facilities, service, activities, attractions, and events. Number 5, to increase awareness of the activity opportunities afforded by the Atikokan. Number 6, to develop means of communication to stimulate visitors already within the area to take advantage of its tourism recreational opportunities. Number 7, to increase per capita visitors expenditures by capturing those segments of the visitors markets that have higher than average expenditures on vacation travel by increasing average length of stay and providing more spending opportunities. Number 8, to improve the quality of existing tourism facilities services in order to increase repeat patronage and enhance positive word-of-mouth advertising. Number 9, to develop facilities and services that can be used during off-peak periods. And number 10, to develop vacation packages that can be sold year or during a specific season. So this is an example of planning goal. This is the example of goal setting, strategy selection, and objective setting. So, let's go to plan development. The last step of the tourism planning process is the development of the plan. The plan includes actions needed to achieve the objectives, implement the strategy, and satisfying the planning goals. A comprehensive plan deals with development, marketing, industry organization, awareness, and support services. It takes each of the plan objectives and specifies the following: the programs and actions required to achieve each plan objectives, the roles and responsibilities of the public and private sectors, in carrying out these programs and actions, the specific development and marketing concepts and opportunities that will help certain objectives. Number 4, the funds required to carry out specific programs and actions. Number 5, the sources of these funds. The number 6, the timetable for carrying out specific programs and actions within the plan. And number 7, the method for monitoring the success of the plan on a periodic basis during its term.